Уважаемые члены Государственной комиссии,
Dear members of the State Commission, please come on in.
уважаемые дамы и господа, на этом заседании Государственной комиссии
Ladies and gentlemen,
утвердить сегодня состав
during this session of the State Commission, we need to approve the prime and the backup crews
корабля «Союз
of the Soyuz TMA-21 spacecraft.
Этому кораблю во знаменование 50-летия
In recognition of the 50th anniversary of the first manned flight,
также признавая выдающийся подвиг
and also
Алексея Гагарина,
in recognition of the heroic feat
тогда космос,
by Yuri Gagarin, who was the first one to make the
имя
first step into the space, this vehicle has been officially designated the name Gagarin.
коллегия Федерального космического
The
агентства
technical and state commission members have been heard and reviewed the reports on the technical status of the International Space Station
подготовки пилотирования
in the process of
ракеты-носителя
the spacecraft and the launch vehicle processing, and in recognition of all the personnel and assets readiness,
пилотируемого
have
космического
hereby decreed
с
to
международной
perform the launch of the Gagarin Soyuz
экспедиции на МКС.
carrying ISS-27 crew to the International Space Station
Ответственный
on
полет
April 5th, 2011. This will be a very important mission. The crew will stay on station for 162
За время
days.
экспедиции экипаж
During this increment, the crew members will perform a large body of work,
ее
servicing the station systems,
реализует обширный
resupplying and outfitting it,
экспериментов и исследований
performing the large scope of scientific tasks in a variety of
в
disciplines.
соответствии с графиком
Yesterday,
завершающего этапа подготовки
for the close-up operation schedule,
назначения была вывезена на стартовый комплекс
the rocket was rolled out to the launch pad
с эксплуатационной
exactly on schedule and then per the technical documentation,
ракеты-носителя
and it went through
пилотируемым космическим
all
кораблем.
the tests that were scheduled for yesterday,
Все работы выполнены
the launch vehicle and the spacecraft
с
intact.
надежностью.
All the tests came back at the expected level of quality. Dear Mr. Permanov, ladies and gentlemen of the State Commission, to perform the ISS-27-28 long-term increment, we had the following crews training. Alexander Samokutyaev,
командир корабля «Союз»,
Soyuz commander, station flight engineer.
Андрей Борисенко,
Andrei Borisenko,
борт-инженер корабля «Союз»,
Soyuz flight engineer,
27-й командир
ISS-27 flight engineer, ISS-28 commander, and Ronald Guerin, flight engineer for the station and the Soyuz.
дублирующий экипаж
The backup crew
Антон Шкаплеров,
is Anton Shkaplerov, Soyuz commander,
27-й командир
20,
28-й,
ISS-27 flight engineer,
Анатолий Иванишин,
ISS-28 commander, Anatoly Ivanishin,
корабля «Союз»,
Soyuz flight engineer, station flight engineer,
и Дэниел Берванг,
and Daniel Burbank,
инженер 2 корабля «Союз».
FE2 for the vehicle and station flight engineer.
Программа подготовки экипажа выполнена полностью.
The training flow has been completed. All the exams have been passed.
Далее экзаменационные тренировки.
Qualification tests have been completed.
All right, Ron, Alexander, Andre, you know, this is the eve of the 50th anniversary of Yuri's flight, and your increment will be historical as well. You're going to be up there for the completion of the Space Shuttle program with the last two flights in its history. You'll also you'll be on board when we raise ISS to the highest altitude it's ever flown, some 400 kilometers. And as increment 28 starts, you'll begin the first increment that will focus completely on utilization, since we've starting to wrap up the assembly. So as you embark on your historical increment, I wish you gentlemen good luck and Godspeed.
Alexander,
Уважаемый Анатолий Николаевич,
Mr. Permanov,
члены Государственной комиссии,
esteemed members of the State Commission,
так и мой экипаж, моя команда.
both myself and my crew, my team, will make the best effort possible
Вы нас научили.
to make good on everything you've trained us to do it at the highest level of quality
Изложили.
possible
Ам,
in performing the tasks that we've been charged with performing.
сплотились за время нашего
We've become a really well-built team as we've been going through our training flow. We know each other very well now, and we like working together.
Хочется еще сказать спасибо
Of course, I would also like to say thank you to all the ground support teams,
для нас
all the specialists that have
прекрасную машину, которую
designed and built this wonderful vehicle that we've been dreaming for so long of flying on. On behalf of the whole crew, thank you very much.
Слово предоставляется бортинженеру
Next,
Андрею Ивановичу.
Alexander Borisenko, flight engineer. Dear members of the State Commission, I would like to join the words of my commander, Alexander, and I'd like to add to that by saying that we feel the responsibility in you deciding that we'll be flying this particular vehicle. We'll perform the whole set of tasks. The whole mission will be performed and completed successfully. Thank you.
Слово предоставляется бот-инженеру 2 Гаран Рональду.
Спасибо.
Flight Engineer 2, Ronald Guerin. This is a great honor for me to be part of this crew. 50 years ago, one single nation performed the first manned launch, launching Gagarin into space. This was the first step towards exploring space. And today, 50 years later, the three of us, as part of this crew, are representing the international space community. The strength of our partnership is that we are together and we support each other in times that are good and bad. After the Columbia tragedy, all the partners felt our pain and experienced this tragedy with us. And today, we are feeling the pain of our Japanese colleagues now that they're living through their tragedy in their country. We've all proven that in working together, we can achieve amazing things, both in space and on Earth. And I just want to say thank you so much to you for everything. And I'm confident that we're ready.
Корабля «Союз ТМА-21 запланирован на 5 апреля
The launch is scheduled to take place on April 5th
по московскому времени.
at 2:18 Moscow time. Take place from Baikonur Cosmodrome.
Недавно завершилось
Just recently,
заседание Государственной комиссии.
we had witnessed the session of the State Commission that approved the crew,
Alexander Samokutyaev,
prime crew consisting of Alexander Samokutyaev,
командир корабля,
RSA,
борт
Cosmonaut,
инженер станции.
vehicle commander, station flight engineer Andrei Borisenko, RSA Cosmonaut,
Инженер корабля, борт
vehicle flight engineer, ISS-27 flight engineer, ISS-28 commander,
Рональд Гаран,
Ronald Guerin, NASA astronaut,
инженер 2 корабля,
FE2 for the Soyuz vehicle, station flight
и
engineer.
дублирующий
The
экипаж.
backup crew consisting of
Командир корабля и командир
vehicle and
станции
station commander
Шкаплеров,
Anton Shkaplerov,
космонавт Роскосмос.
RSA cosmonaut,
Анатолий Иванишин,
Anatoly Ivanishin,
инженер корабля,
vehicle flight engineer,
станции,
station flight engineer, RSA
и
cosmonaut,
Дэниел Бёрбанк,
and Daniel Burbank,
инженер 2 корабля,
vehicle flight engineer 2,
МКС,
ISS flight engineer.
из французской Гвианы. Именно его рисунок стал основой для эмблемы этого экипажа.
It's this kid's drawing
И сказал
that was the foundation of the crew patch design.
Марсель Сантос Рис.
Kyle Marcel Santos Rees from French Guiana, the floor is yours.
Je voulais savoir, est-ce que quand vous étiez petit, vous avez pensé que vous alliez aller un jour à l'espace?
Он хотел бы знать, когда вы были маленькие, если вы думали, что вы полетите в космос.
When you were little kids, did you think of ever being able to fly into space?
Хотели, очень хотели.
We really did want to. We really wanted to. We believed that our dreams would come true.
Мы сидим здесь
And that's why we're here, right now, right here.
Если ты тоже мечтаешь о
So
космосе,
if you dream of flying into space, your dreams will definitely come true if you really, really set your mind on it, though.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Ребята, он очень хотел прикоснуться через стекло к вам.
Fellas, he'd really like to shake your hands as much as it's possible, you being behind the glass.
Александр,
Alexander,
Спасибо большое. Я знаю, что экипаж какой-то подарок приготовил
Thank you very much.
для
I'm
Кайля.
being told that the crew has some kind of a present that they have for Kyle.
Дорогой Каэль,
Dear Kyle,
спасибо тебе за то, что ты помог
thanks so much for helping us out
эмблему.
and making it easier for us to select this wonderful patch design.
Мы не умеем так красиво рисовать, как ты.
We are nowhere near as good as you are,
Фотографии. Мы хотим тебе от нашего
drawing-wise, but we have good photographers, and on behalf of our whole crew,
коллективное фото
we would like to give you our group photo
дарственного
group photo of
на память.
our crew
Спасибо тебе.
with autographs for you to keep.
Вы знаете, это, наверное, не наверное, это первый раз, когда у нас
You know, this has to be, actually, this is the first time
Нет, у нас была еще
that we have visitors from another country. Actually, I'm wrong. We did have a Chinese girl win this patch drawing contest once. Anyway, thank you very much.
First of all, of course, this is such a momentous occasion, 50 years after man's first space flight. How do you feel about this forthcoming mission? Of course, it's an obvious question, but I think one that needs addressing if possible. Also, secondly, years after the space race, how do you think today's space industry continues to be categorized and qualified? Is it still an area of competition, or is it more an area where international countries can work together? Thanks a lot.
I think there's a lot of aspects to that question, and then I'll try and address a couple of them because it was an extremely historic event 50 years ago on April 12th, 1961. I think on that day, you know, one of the things that we became as a species is basically another species. We became a species that was no longer confined to the boundaries of the Earth. 50 years ago, one nation launched one man to basically as a competition. And today, the three of us represent the many nations of the international partnership that make up the International Space Station. And I think this partnership is an example for the rest of the world. If you could see what an amazing accomplishment the International Space Station is, and to think that we together, all the nations of our partnership, constructed that and accomplished this amazing task in space, imagine what we can do working together to solve the challenges and the problems facing our planet and our Earth.
First question is for Ron. Again, going back to Gagarin's anniversary, you've tweeted a picture from your visit to the Gagarin's cabin. Did you have any particular feelings? Did it feel special to be there? И вопрос по-русски всем участникам.
Another question in Russian to
Российские участники
the whole panel.
первый раз для себя полетят в космос. Рон один раз был в космосе.
Ron has been in space before.
Нет ли какой-то нервозности по
The
поводу
Russian crew members, this is going to be the first time for you. Are you feeling fidgety at all? That there's not one person among you that has a lot of experience of space flight?
Это был большая часть, это дом, это место, это очень важное место, это, может быть, по-английски, это, you know, it was a great honor. It was a really special experience for me to be in that place where 50 years ago, Yuri Gagarin spent his last night before launching into space, and you know, I got a little bit of chills when I was there thinking about that, and it was, you know, it's a very fortunate coincidence that, you know, we were able to be assigned to this crew and to be a part of this historic moment.
On the second part of the question, as far as what we're feeling in what our feelings are regarding me and my fellows' first time flying,
Вот, наверное, мы сразу можем на него ответить тем, что
we can answer that question right away. That we have Ron in our crew that already does have flight experience, and he promised to be there for us and help us with whatever questions and whatever sensations that we probably may not be able to model down here on Earth, but will visit us, you know, once we're in flight. But seriously, all the training that we went through at Star City, all the simulations that have been part of our training flow will be there to help us. And in a nutshell, we're not afraid of it, and we're looking forward to it instead. What I would like to add to that is there's a crew awaiting us on the station that has a great body of experience under their belts, and then they'll be able to fill in the blanks for us. If there's anything that we're not quite sure about, they'll be able to help us out and give us good recommendations.
Я Сергей Давитаев.
My name is Sergei Davitaev.
В общем, вопрос к 3 космонавтам.
Question to the 3 cosmonauts.
Стали космонавтами.
How was it that you became cosmonauts?
Ну, просто так стать космонавтом нельзя.
It's not that easy to become a cosmonaut. There's a
Вопросов различной сложности, проблем.
there's a vastness of questions you need to answer and issues you need to resolve before you get anywhere near that decision.
Космонавтами не просто становятся.
But really, so you don't really become a cosmonaut. You need to kind of grow
Своя судьба, у каждого своя дорога.
into that awareness and become ready to be a cosmonaut. But everybody follows their own path. A lot of us, like myself and Ron, came from the world of military pilots.
Промежуточного положения из
So we kind of came into the space, per se, from the intermediate point.
Да и космонавты очень суеверные люди. Вот вопрос к каждому из членов экипажа, какие
Cosmonauts are superstitious, as far as we know. Would you be able to run us through all the rituals you're going to be performing within the next day or so? First of all, just like a pilot, a cosmonaut has to be a disciplined person. So the first ritual will be performed is following the very strict pre-launch day schedule. As far as the rest of the rituals, we'll not be adding anything new. Whatever came to be and came into existence as the space business was coming into shape, we'll just try to partake in those traditions. So, for example, today we'll be taking part in a great tradition of watching the White Sun of the Desert movie. I want to add by saying is that the best tradition that we're going to be planning on following is to do our work well. Astronauts also taking place in following the Russian traditions of space?
Well, certainly we'll follow the Russian traditions, and in addition to watching the movie tonight that we're going to watch, we're going to also sign our doors, and we'll get a blessing from the priest before we head to the launch pad.
И точно так же я получу благословение от священника вместе со всеми.
Спасибо. Ближе только микрофон, хорошо?
И вот забыл совсем вам сказать, что я давно
Before I forget,
так сказать,
I've been promising to show you the
он наконец-то прошел.
Zero-G toy that has gone through all the processing by now. It's been certified for flight.
Это как раз та же самая традиция.
This is one of those traditions you were mentioning before. This is the little doggy that's usually something the kids give to cosmonauts.
Вот она с нами отправится в космический полет.
Well, she'll be flying with us.
Rob Navius with NASA Television for Ron Garan. 2 questions. Ron, in addition to Gagarin's anniversary, you're launching 1 week shy of the 30th anniversary of the first space shuttle mission, and within weeks of the 50th anniversary of Alan Shepard's launch as the first American in space. Are you struck by these commemorative activities happening all at the crossroads in this time frame to develop and build a space station in orbit that probably neither Gagarin nor Shepard could have ever envisioned?
I think this is a very fortunate time to be flying in space right now, and I think all the events that you mentioned are very historic events and ones that we really need to recognize and to acknowledge. Starting with Alan Shepard, that was the first step for the American space program, which, as you know, led to many things, many accomplishments, including landing men on the moon and the space shuttle, which is the second thing that you mentioned. And the anniversary of the first shuttle mission is bittersweet because we're going to retire the space shuttle here after 2 more flights, and so we really need to look back and look at the amazing accomplishments of the space shuttle, from the satellites it launched to building the space station, launching the Hubble Space Telescope, and all its other many accomplishments. But I think one of the most important legacies of both the American and the Russian space program is that even when our 2 countries were not the best of friends, somehow we found a way to cooperate in the Soyuz Apollo-Soyuz program, and I think that really says something for the space program.
And Ron, as a quick follow-up, the first month of your mission is going to be particularly challenging. You're steeped in commemorative activities, and within weeks perhaps of your arrival on orbit, Endeavour arrives for its final mission, a very complex mission. How do you and your crewmates plan to handle that workload in parallel to your typical space station orientation?
Well, the International Space Station is a very busy place. We are conducting a great deal of research on board, and in addition to the research, I think it's also very important to recognize these significant milestones. So when Endeavour docks, we're going to have on board a very, very highly trained, highly talented team of people, and our job will basically to help facilitate the success of their mission, to basically do whatever we can do to help them in their mission.
Не секрет, что наверное, каждый случай в космосе у вас существует инструкция.
It's no secret that you should have instructions for anything and everything that may happen in space. Do you have any sort of instructions for what you're supposed to be doing and what steps you're supposed to be following in case you encounter extraterrestrial forms of life? The off-nominal situation mitigation procedures that we have do not protect for that. If we happen to be the lucky first ones to come into contact with the extraterrestrial forms, we'll just follow common sense, and the contact will be executed appropriately and with the doctors being brought into loop.
At Baikonur, are you gonna keep on keeping your Twitter and tweeting us? И вопрос российским космонавтам. Вот Дмитрий Кондратьев ведет дневник с МКС.
The answer is yes. I'm going to continue as best I can to use Twitter, and I even recruited Dan Burbank and Anton to also send tweets. And the other means that I'm going to use to try and communicate is a website that we started called Fragile Oasis. It's at fragileoasis.org, and one of the goals of the website is to have people follow along not as spectators but as fellow crewmates and participants in the mission.
У меня скромный вопрос к семье космонавтов.
Real quick, to the families of the cosmonauts. Question. A question to you guys: how will you be celebrating the birthdays?
Первый день рождения, который в нашем
The thing is, the first birthday in our crew will be Andrei Borisenko's on April 17th. Well, it goes without saying, we'll congratulate him, our friend and our colleague. We won't be revealing any secrets what we've got planned for that day. But anyway, we'll have cake or something sweet like, something cake like, we'll probably squeeze it out of one of the tubes we'll have up there.
Спасибо. После приема
Question from one of the regional newspapers.
на его фоне, какой мир вы хотите? Что это было? Это первый вопрос, что значит эти таблички. И второй.
A question on the meaning of the plaques you were holding when you're standing up in front of the vehicle. Second question, you'll be leaving Earth for quite an extensive period of time. What will be the items you'll be taking with to set them up in your quarters, your bedrooms, so to speak? Well, first and foremost, it's the family pictures that cosmonauts usually take with, maybe pictures of the places that mean a lot to us, and so we won't be making any drastic changes off of that course. Nothing new. We're all humans. We're all alike. Everybody has their personal items that they want to take with and have around. And I'll hand it over to Ron on the first part of the question.
The short answer is that it's for a music video that NASA is shooting. But I talked about the website Fragile Oasis, and one of the other goals of the website is to use the unique orbital perspective to kind of shine a light on some of the challenges and the problems that are facing our Earth. And again, the point and really the example of the space program is if we can do these amazing things in space together, imagine what we could do on Earth together.
Вопрос основному экипажу. Подскажите, пожалуйста, расскажите о вашем...
First question to the prime crew. What will be your call sign? What does that word mean? What's the significance of it? And whose idea was it? Another question to the backup crew. When your time to fly comes, or rather, when will be the time for you to fly, and what will your expedition be like? Okay. The call sign that we selected together, or more like I picked it out and then I offered it to my friends. And our call sign is Tarkhany. Tarkhany is a town where Mikhail Lermontov was born, the great Russian poet. I was born in the city of Penza. That's where my parents live.
в Пензенскую область.
And Tarkani is in the region of the city of Penza. It's not too far away from the city. And so, in the memory of the place where I'm from,
Все вы знаете творчество.
we selected this, or I selected this call sign. And Mikhail Lermontov's poetry,
Прах покоится в этом населенном пункте. Вот поэтому
his remains are buried in that town, in the town of Tarkani.
понимаете, да, что космос это,
And you
наверное, тоже
have to understand that space is much like poetry. It's something from the soul and something for the soul. And when we shared this call sign idea with Ron, kind of brought him into the loop on the significance of Lermontov's name, of somebody like Lermontov or Pushkin to a Russian. Ron really fell for it, and I'll just hand it over to him.
Лет Парис, Арунаки, в тумане море голубом, что ищет он в стране далекой, что кинул он в краю родном.
Recites a poem from Lermontov.
Играют волны, ветер свищет, и мачта гнется и скрипит. Увы, он счастья не ищет. И, увы, он... Извините. Увы, он счастья не ищет и от счастья не сбежит.
Не волнуйся. Под ним струя светлее лазури, над ним луч солнца золотой, а он мятежный, ищет бури, как будто в бурях есть покой.
Ну, я думаю, что это достойно аплодисментов бурных.
About a warm round of applause for all three of them reciting bits and pieces of Mikhail Lermontov's poem. With Ron reciting a poem in Russian, this is a real solid crew, what can we say? And this is something else they came up with.
Комментарий, да, дайте, пожалуйста.
Your comments, please.
В небесах торжественно и важно МКС в сиянии голубой. И хотя в учении было тяжко, скоро к ней отправимся втроем. Тарханы.
It may have been hard to get trained for it, but soon we'll be flying towards it, the ISS.
Спасибо большое.
And then our call sign, Tarkani. Thank you so much.
А теперь вопрос дублирующему экипажу.
Я начну.
Now the question for the backup crew.
Нашей миссии. Очень хорошо, что
I'll start and say a few words on our mission. It's really a good thing that all the crews are assigned well in advance. It takes at least 2 years to go through the training flow. So per schedule, our flight's supposed to take place on September the 30th. We'll be launching and flying towards the station, and we'll be replacing the prime crew. In other words, about 2 weeks before that, on the 16th of September, they'll be landing, and then we'll launch on the 30th of the month.
I think the other part of the question was, what are we going to do while we're up there on space station? And as I think has already been mentioned, space station finally now, after 10 years of very difficult work by 15 nations and 5 national space agencies around the world. Throughout all that work, we've finally assembled a nearly million-pound, very complicated space station in Earth orbit. Space station is now just entering the phase where it can be fully utilized for the science that it was intended to perform. So that torch is going to be passed from Sasha, from Andre, and Ron to us, and we intend to continue that. A lot of the science we do is geared towards life sciences. Some of it's basic science, but a lot of it is, for us, very important, I think, to understand how to keep humans healthy and productive and safe in a very difficult environment of space.
В связи с завершением строительства Международной космической станции,
Once the station is complete,
основные усилия экипажа будут
during our mission,
сконцентрированы на
main
проведении
efforts
экспериментов
will be geared towards performing science.
в течение многих лет разными.
And there are science experiments that have been taking place for years by a number of crews. There will be some crew-specific research projects that we'll be initiating and performing, and we'll make sure to do them
Как вы
at the expected level of quality.
программу Буран возобновили?
Question on what's your take on the Buran program resumption? I apologize, but where do you get your information from?
Говорили.
Well, it's been said.
Говорили где и кто.
Who said and to whom?
Ну, это, наверное, знаете, это, наверное,
Значит,
мечты. Это
да, я
мечты.
I guess it's wishful thinking. It's exactly the case of wishful thinking. I agree.
Действительно, нет, программа Буран.
Anyway, the answer is no. The Buran program is not going to be revitalized.
Я думаю, что этот вопрос надо задать нашему.
I think this question should be run by our designer general, first and foremost,
Александровичу Лапотину.
Mr. Lapoda.
Но у нас в мире существуют другие проекты.
We have a variety of other projects that are currently underway worldwide that will have multiple-use space vehicles designed and developed.
Мягкой посадкой.
Have a safe flight, a soft landing. We'll be looking forward to seeing you back. To the backup crew, take your remaining time getting trained. And now, some final words from the crew. We would like to thank you for your patience and say thank you very much for doing what you do and covering the side of things that doesn't always get adequate exposure. Our youth, our youngins, thanks to you, get the information that we are able to deliver to them using your assets, you in the media world. And now, traditional picture.
Сейчас, наверное, два экипажа встанут, а потом один.
First, we'll have a group picture of both of the crews, and then we'll do them one at a time.
Основной дублирующий экипажи вместе, а потом основной экипаж.
Both crews, and then the prime crew.
Орлы. Орлы. Помашите. Спасибо. Теперь основной экипаж.
Thank you. And now the prime crew only.
Чуть-чуть правее. Вот так.
A little to the right.
Ну. Спасибо вам, ребята.
Thanks, guys.
Аплодисменты.
Да. Давайте поблагодарим.
Yeah, how about a nice and warm round of applause to the fellas? It's been a really long and intense day for them.